Hello and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be going over my first experience with Dice Tower East. We were there from Thursday morning all the way until Saturday night and had a great experience. I'm going to be going over that experience. I'm going to be going over my first impressions of the new games I got to play while I was there, as well as I'm going to add in at the end of this video my first plays for the month of June, since I only had 3 games that I played for the first time in June and only 1 play of each of those. So I figured I'd just tag that on in at the end of this video. Now at Dice Tower, we got to play 14 different games. I had 15 plays in total as we played Terraforming Mars a couple of times. And I played 10 new games. So I'll be going over those a little bit as we get towards the end of this video. Now, I really enjoyed the experience. One of the cool things there about when you first go in there and you're trying to figure out what you want to play is that people are going to have flags up. Green flags for just wanting players and yellow flags for wanting someone to help teach the game. And the very first thing I did when we got there is I started walking through there, me and my friend Will, and we saw some people that were wanting a teacher for Earth. And so we just quickly jumped in and said, hey, we're willing to teach you guys. And so we got to teach the game Earth. It was the very first thing we did. I also later on in the time got to teach bonsai to a few people, as well as I helped teach the game Heat. Was originally going to be one of the main teachers there, but somebody kind of came in and took over the reins, but I was able to kind of help still in teaching that game in the hot games section. One really cool thing is that, of course, the Dice Tower library is that they are these thousands of games that you can choose from, checking out one game at a time that you can take and learn to play, or that you already know how to play, and go ahead and play their copy so you don't have to bring a bunch of games to the convention. You get to try out a bunch of new games. And so I really enjoyed their library. We checked out several different games. And then there's a hot games area where they have some games that are games that a lot of people are going to want to play that are already set up. And you get to go ahead and just jump right on in and play those games, and then you set them back up at the end of your time there for the next person. What's really cool about them already being set up and you having to set up at the end rather than the beginning is that sometimes when you're setting up a new game, it's a little bit hard to figure out, okay, what cards are these that they're asking about? But once you already know the game, it's a lot easier actually to set up for the next person to dive right on in. And it was really cool just to be able to run in there, see that there's a game table ready to just jump in and play. And so I really enjoyed the hot games section. We played a few different games in that area. I also got to buy some promos from the Dice Tower table in the area where they had all the different shops and different things set up. And so I got a bunch of different promos for some of the games that I have. That was really good. Got to meet Tom Vassell and Roy Canaday and Wendy Yee. Wendy Yee taught the table that we were at how to play Mlem. I got to meet Jeff Knapp. So I got to meet a few different people from there. I unfortunately did not get to meet Mike DeLisio. I saw him a few times wandering around, but I didn't manage to actually get there and talk to him. I got to meet Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. briefly. He taught me how to play a dexterity game called Slingshot with it, and I played against his friend there. I wish I got to spend a little bit more time with Alex Radcliffe. Maybe got to play a game with him. That would have been really awesome. Maybe next time around, meet up and do that. But it was great to meet some of these people that I've seen a lot of their YouTube videos, but I've never met them in person. So that was kind of a cool part of being there. I did not catch as many shows as I thought I would. I went to the Top 10 Disappointment show, and I went to the Comedy Magic show. I didn't really get to, I don't think there was any other shows that I managed to go to, because really they kind of take away from the main purpose we were there for, and that was to play board games. And so oftentimes we're either in the middle of a game, or maybe we just decided, you know what, forego the show so we can play another game there. Now let's go ahead and get into the games that I played for the very first time at Dice Tower East. If you're not used to this format that I have where I do my first plays, I just real quick go ahead and mention that I go ahead and give a tentative rating, and it's a super tentative rating because oftentimes I haven't played these games very often. It's a very first impressions kind of thing, and all these games I'm going to be going over today, I've only played one time, so take this with a grain of salt when I talk about my rating for these games. They could go up or down after more plays. And so just keep that in mind. I'm going to go through these in the order that we played them at Dice Tower East. And so the very first one that we played was Path of Civilization. And this was taught to us actually by the designer, Fabian Gradel. and I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. In Path of Civilization, you are building up your civilization, and how you're going to do this, you're going to start with 5 cards, and you're going to play 4 of those out into your tableau. 2 of them are going to be to the left side, where your starting cards don't actually give you anything, but later on when you start playing those cards to the left side, you're going to get cubes that you're going to place on these different areas that are going to give you the ability to move up a track on the religion track, or to be able to buy cards or different things that you're going to be able to do with those cubes. One of them is a military thing where you're able to win in the military and do something with that, with the military track there as well, to add into that. And so you've got these different cubes. If you're going to put on the left side, the 2 that you put on the right side, you're going to, that has these circles on them that are going to give you an increase in the buy power that you have to buy a card in one of the later sections of your turn. And so you're either going to play it for those cubes, or you're going to play it to go up in your buy power. And then you are going to be able to do different actions based on what you did there. And then the 5th card you're going to forget is going to go away. And then at the end of each round, you're going to buy a new card that you're going to add in. That's going to become one of the new selections for the 5 cards you can choose from. That's going to be, of course, a lot more powerful than your starting cards. And then you're going to go to the next round, you're going to forget another one. You're going to be building up the civilization, trying to score points, and be on the top at the end of the game, of course. And it was a very fun game. I enjoyed kind of that puzzle. And as you go along, early in the game, it's easy to figure out which one you want to forget because they're very basic cards. But eventually you're going to get into the ones that you bought, and now you're having to forget that card. One of the tough things to kind of figure out with the game was to realize that the card that you're buying that's going to give you benefits immediately when you buy the card aren't going to apply until the next round. In my very last round of the game, I was thinking in my head, I'm going to get these things so I can buy one last card. But then I realized, oh, that doesn't trigger until after the buy phase. And so I wound up not doing quite as good there at the end. I kind of planned for something that wasn't going to happen there. But I really enjoyed it. I got a promo card from Fabian, and so that was kind of cool too. And so that's Path of Civilization, 7.5 out of 10 as my original tentative rating here. The next game we played was White Castle. I'm going to give it a very tentative 7 out of 10. I'm not really fully sure how I feel about this game. In some ways it's fairly basic, but it's got kind of a cool concept to it. And so what you're doing is you only have 9 turns throughout the game, played over 3 rounds of 3 turns each. And you are going to be selecting a die from one of these bridges. They each have different colored die on them. On the left-hand side, you're going to have the lowest value dice. On the right-hand side, you're going to have the highest value. And in the middle, you can't choose from those dice, but they're going to be the ones that are kind of in the middle there. And so you either choose the low value die in order to gain a special benefit for choosing the lower one, or you choose the higher value one. And when you place it, there are marked die numbers on each of the worker placement spots, and if your die that you're placing is less than the number of the spot that you're placing on, or a die if somebody else has already placed a dice on that area, then you have to lose money based on each pip less that it is. And so if you play a 2 and there's a 5 there, you're going to lose 3 money for that. On the other hand, if you're placing a die that's higher than the die that's already there, or the printed on die there on that space, then you are going to gain money for each pip there. And so if you placed a 3 or you place a 5 on a 3, then you're going to gain 2 gold that way. And so there's kind of a push and pull. Do you want to gain the lower value one in order to get the benefit of the lantern action, or do you want to go ahead and do a higher one? Of course, towards the end, everybody's already taken all the higher ones, and so you have to deal with the lower ones. So there's a little bit of push and pull there. You've got kind of a bit of a comboiness, as when you go to certain actions, you are going to be able to trigger different actions that are going to make your turn a lot more useful as you do that. And you have to place some of the places have a specific color that you have to place there in order to do that action, and so you have to place the right color die, and then of course the pips and all that you have to keep in mind. A lot of fun. I enjoyed it. You got this kind of area where you're going up on this track with courtesans, I think it was called, and into the castle, and then you're trying to go up, and you get benefits as you go up there. You get these different cards that you can get into your area there to trigger those benefits. And then you got this area where you put your warriors, where you are going to then it's going to give you a benefit when you do it. Then at the end of the game, you also get 1 times points for each of your courtesans that are in the castle, or 2 times for the high value one there. You have these guards that you can put out that will give you benefits at the end of each round if there is a die left on that bridge at the end of that round. So a lot of cool kind of stuff going on. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it, but right now I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. The next game that we played was Slay the Spire, and I really enjoyed this game. I've never played the video game version of Slay the Spire. I've since downloaded it and played it, and I've really enjoyed that as well. I'm giving it Slay the Spire, the board game, a 9 out of 10. That's what I'm considering buying, although it is really kind of a pricey game, so I might hold off on that. But Slay the Spire is really cool, kind of a boss battler type game where you're going to be on one specific place and you're going to deal out bad guys that are going to be in your row that you have to deal with, and those bad guys can attack you, but generally don't attack others unless they have a certain symbol that allows them to attack everybody at once. And so you have to be concerned with how they're going to attack you on your turns. You have the cards that give you the ability to block, as well as cards that give you the ability to attack. Now you can attack people in other rows and to help them out, and so that's kind of a cool cooperative nature of this game is if right now I don't have to really worry about my row as much, I can go ahead and help somebody destroy one of their bad guys in their row so that they can then maybe on the next round help me out a little bit. And so you kind of work cooperatively in that way, and I really enjoyed the game. It's a deck building game, and you're getting cards that you're going to buy and put into your deck, and then you get to choose from, at the end of each round, I think it is, you get to choose from 3 cards. You draw out 3 cards that are from your special kind of deck that you add into your own thing there. You don't have a kind of a market for everybody. It's like you deal out 3 of your cards, and you look at that and figure out which one you want to get out of that. And then you can upgrade your cards. So they're double-sided, and they have a sleeve on them, and so you can take it out and turn it around and upgrade it when you go to the rest area, if you're not going to take the rest action at the campfire, as well as other things that sometimes allow you to upgrade your cards. Really cool kind of deck building game, cooperative kind of boss battling game. You're going to kind of go along this track, and you can choose which ways you want to branch off, and then at the end you're going to fight this big boss after doing all the kind of little mini battles along the way, encounters and different things like that. Really enjoyed it. 9 out of 10. Next game we played was Fallout, and this game I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 right now, and it may even drop lower. I'm kind of being a little generous. I felt like there was a lot of going around and doing stuff for not a whole lot of purpose. You're fighting these different bad guys, and they come right back out, and you get these different bonuses, and you're going around trying to do these different quests along the way. Ultimately, though, it just kind of felt like a bit of a mess, and it didn't really feel like that satisfying as we did things, as we leveled up in different things throughout the game. It may have just been the first playthrough just fizzled a little bit for me. On more playthroughs, maybe it would go a bit better. Different kind of setups, maybe, I don't know. And so I'm gonna, even though there's part of me want to go a little bit lower than a 6 right now, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, just because I'm not sure how much of that feeling was. Maybe we played a few things not optimally, not the right way. I don't know. Maybe that is just that scenario, maybe just the way things played out that game, but it just felt like, and you had this influence that you're trying to get to, and the game actually ended before we got to the total influence that would necessarily determine a winner in the game that way, and so it just felt kind of weird and not fully satisfying of a game. There seemed to like a lot of different things that we had to look up throughout the game, and things that didn't run quite as smoothly, a lot of setup for not quite as good a reward as well. And so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't really my cup of tea. Next one we played is on the opposite end of that spectrum is Harmonies, and I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this game. I'm not sure if I enjoyed Harmonies or Slay the Spire more. They were both right there for me. And Harmonies is a very kind of quick to play game. It's a very puzzly game. And what you're doing is on your turn, you are going to be selecting one set of tiles. It's similar to Azul in the way you've got the thing set up there where you have all these different areas that have 3 tiles on them each piece. And you're just going to select one set that's going to give you 3 tiles, and you're going to put those out on your board. They're going to represent different habitats and different things within habitats. You've got your farm area, you've got your water area, you've got kind of a tree stump thing that you can set up, and then you can, at the end of that, add your green leaf type thing on top eventually. And then you've got like a city and mountain. And so you're going to grab these tiles that are on that thing, and you're going to set them up, and then you're going to grab a card from the section that represents an animal that likes to live in certain habitats and you're going to have to try and set up the habitat that looks just like the card. And when you do that, then you can take one of the cubes off of that card and put it on the specific space that it wants to go on. And then you're going to, at the end of the game, score points for how many of those you manage to accomplish. You can have 4 of those cards out to be able to play cubes from at any given time. And then once you complete a card, it goes to your completed area, and then you can get more, of course, throughout the game there. And you're going to be scoring points based on what you set up on your board as far as your habitats. Your mountains want to be at least 2 mountains together, and the higher the mountain, the more points you're going to score. Trees score a certain way. Fields want to be next to a certain amount of fields, and different things like that. And so it's a very puzzly game trying to figure out both how you're going to build these habitats to score points, as well as the habitats that your animals want to be able to get those into those things. And so I really enjoyed it. It plays in under 30 minutes and offers a super, super satisfying puzzle to work on. So I really love that. It's very complex, and all the things you have to kind of think about in order to score points. And the end game happens either when the deck runs out, or somebody's gotten down to their last 2 spaces that are empty on their player board there. And there are 2 sides of the player board. We played with the more basic side of the 2. There's also one that has water kind of going all around that offers a different style of play. And there's also spirit cards, which we didn't experience. We just played the very basic game there. And so that kind of adds in a different kind of thing. I don't know exactly how those work because I didn't really look into them. But I really enjoyed this one. I'm sad that it seems to be sold out everywhere, because this is one of those games that I immediately wanted to go ahead and buy. As soon as they come out and do another reprint, I am definitely going to get Harmonies, giving it a 9 out of 10. Next game we played was Role Player, and this is one that I had been hesitant to play a long time ago when I first heard about it, because it didn't seem like it was that interesting to me. You're basically just building your role-playing character, and that's the entirety of the game. You don't actually use them. Of course, they've come out with Role Player Adventures now where you can actually use your character that you built, and that actually got me a little bit more interested in playing Role Player, see how it plays, and maybe able to get Role Player Adventures so you can kind of port those over. But actually it was a very interesting game. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It's basically you are going to be rolling dice at the beginning of each round and then drafting those dice, and you're trying to add those into your stats to try and equal a certain amount in order to score stars at the end of the game for having the right amount. Some of them are certain amount plus, might say 14 plus or 18 plus. Others are going to say things like you have to get 15 to 16, or you have to get exactly 14, or things like that. And so you're going to have your character you're going to have, and they have different abilities that are going to help you out, as well as you're going to get your class is going to give you different abilities, and things are going to go on there, and you're going to get different ways throughout the game to mitigate your dice rolls, and each time you place a die, you've got a certain bonus that you're going to take that's going to allow you to do different things that are going to help you out. You have certain colors that want to be in certain areas on your board that you're going to try and focus on that, as well as getting those numbers that you need. And so there's just a lot of cool things going on. I really love the mitigation. There's so many different ways to mitigate what's going into your board and be able to change things along the way. And so it's kind of figuring out that puzzle of how I'm going to change things up. And so right now I'm going to put this here, but maybe I can move it later, or maybe I can flip it later. And so it goes from a 1 to a 6. And so all kinds of cool things. I really enjoyed it a lot more than I originally thought I was going to when I first heard the concept. And so 7 out of 10, Role Player. I like to get more plays that may even go up in my rating as I play it more. And I really love to try out Role Player Adventure, and especially be able to try and port a player and maybe do Role Player and then Role Player Adventure with that character right back to back like that. Who knows? But Role Player, given a 7 out of 10. Next game we played was Mlem. And this is a game where you are playing space cats, where you are going off into space, trying to go as far as you can, and then settling on these different planets and moons and stuff. And I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I'm really kind of iffy as well on this rating. I almost want to go a little bit lower, but there's part of me wants to go a little bit higher, and so I just kind of settled on that 6.5. It's kind of a weird kind of push your luck game as you are rolling dice, and then if any dice that don't relate to the number of the space that you're on go away for the rest of the trip, and any dice you use except for boosters also go away for the rest of the trip. And so you very quickly find yourself rolling just a couple of dice and then eventually just one die over and over and over again, hoping that it hits the number there. And that's really where it kind of falls flattish for me, is that you quickly kind of run into this issue where you're not going to get very far. I don't know how you could possibly get to the end where the comments are and you get those extra points. And the furthest we got was one of the big planets. I think it was like maybe the 4th planet or 3rd planet. I think there's one more planet, and then up towards the comet area after that. And so, but you when you choose to go on this journey, get in the spacecraft, you have a tile that you're going to put down. It's going to give a bonus for that round. One of them gets you to start a little bit later. Another one allows you to, at some point during the game, turn it over to be a 1, which is a lot of 1s on the board, so that's good for you to have the ability to do a 1. One allows you to abandon ship even after it crashes, because if you don't roll the number that you need there, then it's going to crash, and if you don't have that, then you don't get to put anything out. You go back to the beginning, and you move the crash marker along 1, and when it gets to the end of all the crashes, the game is going to end that way, or if somebody's used all of their cats and with their different bonuses on it. And so that's... You don't really feel like you can get as far as you ought to be able to get in that game. That's the one thing that kind of... I enjoyed the gameplay until you realize there's not a whole lot of rolling of dice, and you run out of those dice really quickly. And so, I don't know, it just feels like you should be able to get more dice in there some way in order to be able to get further along in the thing. But I did enjoy it. I would play it again, but I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10, as it didn't fully hit for me. The next game that I played was Botany, which is a game that a friend of mine brought to the convention, and I'm a little iffy on my rating for this one. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for now. It could go a little bit lower, could even go higher, but I'm not exactly sure how I felt about this game. There is a lot of luck involved in the game, as you have different events that they're going to come up randomly, and some of them can really help you go up in reputation while others don't, and that's something that's kind of, you can get these events that are going to help you go up, and it's going to get you more money when you come back to your estate if you have better reputation faster than others. And so there's a lot of randomness in that, as well as there is randomness in your dice rolls, as being able to succeed in different things, but then you can get these different cards that are going to help you to succeed, as well as your starting abilities. And so we found that we wound up succeeding a lot on our missions just because we managed to get the right kind of mitigations for those things, as well as your own abilities. And so that wasn't as big of a deal as the rolling of the dice there. Some of the cards that you would get, I had one that would raise my reputation on a 5 or 6. Of course, that's very hard to do, and there was no mitigation for that. And so there are kind of some things that are just straight down to the luck. And the big thing you're going to be doing in this game is you are going to get these cards that represent specimens that you're going to try and seek out, and they're going to tell you where to find those on this map. And the ones that are further away typically have higher victory point values to them. And you're going to try and go out and get these specimens and bring them back to your estate, and they're going to give you victory points at the end of the game. Some of them give you a benefit when you manage to get them into your jar that you're going to use to save them till you get back. Some of them give you benefit when you get them back to your estate and plant them. And so you're going to try and get these things for the victory points. As you're going out and traveling, you're going to be spending a gold for each day that you're out there, and so you have to come back to your estate in order to get your income from the estate. And so you can't be out too long. Also, you can only carry with you, I believe it's 3 at a time with your jar there that you start out with. You can buy another one of those, and you can have 6 at a time. And then there's a couple animals that allow you to go ahead and get an extra specimen while you're out there. So you have to keep going out and coming back to your estate, both for your income, to be able to do more things while you're out there and stay out there longer, as well as to be able to get those specimens so you kind of run out of space for them. There is a way that you can press your specimens so that they're only worth 1 victory point at the end of the game, and you keep as many of those until you come back as well, and then you kind of store those, and that's when you are able to score them as anything you get back into your area. There's a bit of a take that element to the game, in that you have this thief that can steal from another person, as well as you have the take that element of you can put negative victory point specimens into somebody's garden. But there is a way to mitigate that, in that you can go ahead and get this special card you can purchase at your estate that allows you to, for 10 coins, you get 1 victory point, plus you have the ability then to turn all of your negative victory points into positive victory points. So that could even cause you to want to put those negative victory point cards into your area as well. I mainly bought it to protect myself from others putting them in my area. There's a lot of randomness as well as which specimens you get, whether they work together well or not. There is the ability at the beginning of the game to trash as many as you want to draw back up, as well as whenever you are back at your estate, you can do that one time as well. So if you have cards that don't work well together or further away than you want to go, you can trash those to try and get better, but then there's still a luck element to whether or not you actually get those. So because of all the different luck elements within this game, I am tentatively rating it a 7 out of 10. Almost feels like it can be too lucky, especially when it comes to the building up your reputation, whether or not you get the right events to do that and different things. And so I'm going to give it that 7 out of 10. It may go down, but I'm being a little bit maybe on the generous side, saying 7. I know there's been a lot of people that haven't really enjoyed this as much, but then again, after more plays, I may find that I really enjoy it even more. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. The next one I want to talk about is Dreadful Meadows. And this one I'm giving a 7 out of 10 as well. It's a fun little Halloween-y type game where you are going to be getting these different tiles into your played out area, and they're going to give you candy whenever you put your sprite there. It's going to populate around that area. You're trying to get these tractors into your area that's going to also populate. When you put a sprite next to it, it goes ahead and populates candy around. And then you're using that candy either to purchase more tiles, to purchase tractors, or to place out onto these concoctions that are really one of the big ways you're going to score points. There's these different concoctions that are going to give you points when you finish out that card, which you're also going to score points for having a tractor in an area that's connected to more of that same type. At the end of the game, you're going to score a certain amount of points for each of those, as well as you score for where the tractors are. There's a bunch of different things to focus on how you're going to score those points. I did enjoy it. It seems like it's kind of a tough way to try and figure out how much you're going to focus on building your engine, when you're going to start really, really running that engine, getting a lot more of that candy so that you can then get more tractors and score more points. Once you're down to the last tractor, it triggers the end of the game, or if you run out of tiles in the bag, it triggers the end of the game. I did enjoy it. It's kind of a light game, but it's got a decent amount of puzzliness to it as well, and so it falls right in that 7 out of 10 range for me. That is Dreadful Meadows. And the final one we played was the last game we played actually at Dice Tower East, and that was Endless Winter. This is a game I've been wanting to play for quite a while, but didn't really want to pull the trigger on getting it, so I really am glad I was able to play it at Dice Tower East. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. There's a lot of different things going on in this game. It's got a bit of a deck building aspect to it. It's got a bit of an area control aspect to it. It's got worker placement to it. And so it's got a bunch of different mechanisms kind of coming together. I'm not a big area control fan. I probably shouldn't have focused as much into the area control as I did in this game. But it feels like you don't want to ignore any areas, but at the same time, really it helps to specialize in areas. And I kind of tried to thin myself out a little bit too much, I think. I did wind up getting second place, but I lost by a good amount of points to first place. But I really enjoyed it. You get 3 workers. You have one that's your special chief worker, which gives you a special ability. Mine was whenever I went to the first worker area. I can't remember what it's called now, but I get a hammer for going there with him. Most of them had that kind of, you go to a certain track, you get a benefit. One person's had, if you got a meat, I believe it was, you get a benefit. Anyway, so you have your special worker that gets that, and you have 2 other workers. It feels really tight being able to get everything done. You have 4 rounds that you're playing in, and you've got all kinds of different things you can focus on. Focus on buying cards to get into your deck to be able to do more things, and just all kinds of things. You wish you could do a lot more on your turns than you can actually do and over those 4 rounds. And you have one thing that if you get into your area, you're going to score at the end of each round. You're going to score points for those. I should have gotten more of those early in the game. I finally only got one of those late game. It gave me just that one time of scoring for, I think it was 4 or 5 points for different types of animals that I had slain throughout the game. So there's so much going on. You slay animals. You get, like I said, you get different cards that are going to be worth points as well as give you abilities. You're trying to get tents out into the area control area and then move those out. If you get 3 areas that you have tents in, you can put out this big campsite area, which then gives you 2 area control and all the things all 3 areas that it touches. And then if you have the most at the end of each round in that area, you get a benefit for that area. You've got an area that you are trying to put out these squares that are going to get you a benefit when you put it out, but also if you put them on top of a group, then you can get 4 points there for doing that if it's all other people's, or you can get 2 points for each one that's yours in that area. And so you can get up to 2, 4, 6, 8, 4 to 8, depending on if it's other people's or yours that you're placing on and how much of that you're doing in there. So there's all kinds of things going on here. I don't fully know how I feel about this game overall. I did enjoy it. It does feel like there's a lot going on and not enough time to do everything you want to do. But I guess that's the kind of a trademark of a good game. If you could do everything you wanted to do, then it wouldn't be as special to the things that you do get a chance to do. And so I really enjoyed it. Endless Winter, 7.5 out of 10. So those are all the games I played at Dice Tower East and what I thought about them as my first impressions. Now let's get into the first plays in June. I only played 3 games in the month of June, and each of those I played 1 time. The first one is Skyrise, and I'm going to give it a very tentative 8 out of 10. Not 100% sure how I feel about this game, but I did enjoy my play of it. There's a great production value there. And what you're doing basically is an interesting type of bidding game where you are going to place out one of your buildings, and and it has a number on it, and that's your bid. And then somebody can bid on the next space, one of the adjacent spaces to that building, by going above you. And that goes until everybody decides to pass, and then whoever had the highest building goes ahead and claims that area where they did, and they put their building on there. And then you are trying to score points for different bonus cards. They're going to have different things they want you to accomplish, as well as you are going to have your kind of board that you are going to be going up in different tracks, and then they're going to score basically the amount that on the area multiplied by the amount of that color that you were able to get at the end of the game. And so you have to try and balance a little bit there, or really kind of focus on and getting the right bonuses moved up, as well as controlling those colored areas. And then your bonus card is going to want you to control like 4 areas of a certain color. And so it kind of gives you a guide of which way to go on that. I did enjoy it. I need a little bit more plays of it to really cement in whether it's really an 8 out of 10 for me, or if it's higher or if it's lower. This is one of those that all these are tentative because they're first time plays, but this one especially so. The next one I want to mention is Dice Lanterns. This is a roll and write game where you are putting out polyomino tiles as well onto your sheet. I'm giving it a very tentative 7 out of 10. I almost want to go lower. Actually, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I'm giving this one a 6.5 out of 10. It feels like there's not a whole lot of depth of strategy to Dice Lanterns. I may even go as low as a 6 on this one. I enjoyed my play of it. It's okay. I'd play it again. But at the same time, it feels like it's going to run its course really fast. And so what you're basically doing on this game is there's going to be dice that are going to be rolled. Whoever's the first player is going to rotate it, and they're going to get the one in front of them, and you're going to get the one in front of you. And then you are going to basically be filling in these different areas on your board. You got a bonus that you're going to get to do when it's your turn. And you're playing a set amount of rounds, and at the end of those rounds, whoever has the most points wins. And then you are able to, when you fill in areas, be able to get these polyominoes that you are able to claim, and the highest value ones are on top. They're going to get lower as those ones get chosen more. And there's kind of a little bit of a tempts you to go after the larger ones first because they seem like they're better because they're worth more points. But really, you can build the smaller ones faster and then be able to do that more often and be able to get those in quicker. So actually, you really kind of want to go after the smaller ones first to be able to build out quicker and get more points quicker. There are certain areas that it's like, obviously I want to go here first. It's going to be the best in the end. You got, if you fill around certain areas, you're able to score points for doing that. And so I feel like it's going to run its course really quick. That's why I'm giving it a 6.5 out of 10, and it may even fall to a 6 really quickly after a few more plays. That is Dice Lanterns. And the final one we played is Like Minds. And this was a hard one for me to rate just because of the type of game it is. It's a basic party game that they already kind of have a bit of a drop on me as far as they don't have that huge depth of strategy. So what do I really do with these games? I'm almost tempted to give it a 7 out of 10 just for that fact, but I'm really just going to give it a 6 out of 10 just because it's okay. I'd play it again. It's just not one, and it is a lot of fun because what you're doing in this game is you are partnered up, and we all partnered up with our spouses when we played the one game. We've actually played 2 games of this one actually, and the first time we had some of our kids in there playing, and so we they partnered up, and then all of our spouses partnered up. Basically in this game you are going to be given a prompt, and you're going to have to write down as quickly as you can the first things that come to your mind that relate to this prompt. You're trying to match up with your partner. And at some point during the writing, somebody's going to decide they have enough to meet the goal of whatever it is. And you're going to roll a dice. It's going to tell you it's going to be 1 to 4 as to how many matches you have to make with your partner in order to score it all if you actually claim the brain in this situation. And then everybody else gets 1 point per each match they have regardless. But the advantage of taking the brain is that you also get an extra 3 points if you get more than the amount that is required. And so there's a little risk there grabbing it because you don't know. You may have written down 6 things and say, surely my partner will have at least 3 of those things. And they may have only gotten a chance to write down 2 things, or they wrote down 3 things and one of them didn't match. And so it's kind of a bit of a risk to grab the brain. Also, I found it a bit awkward in setting up the brain as far as the first game we played. It actually worked really well because we kind of had the partners at one end of the table and the other set of partners at the other end of the table, and we were able to put the brain in between 4 of us being right next to each other. Whereas when we played it with just 6 of us, where we had on opposite sides of the table, one person was kind of a little bit easier to get to the brain than the 2 people on the other sides there. So it kind of didn't work as well. There was one time when a couple of us went for the brain first, but we were on the end, and because he saw us moving for it, he could get it faster than us. But anyway, I enjoyed the game. It's one of those, don't take it too serious as far as winning or losing. It's just kind of an experience. Have fun trying to match with your partner and all that kind of stuff. And you can get kind of that analysis paralysis, trying to write things down. It's like, I know it's on the tip of my brain. In fact, one of them was about Harry Potter characters, and for some reason, my mind just blanked. I know all kinds of Harry Potter characters, but my mind in the moment just blanked. And I could only come up with like 3, I think it was at the time. It was embarrassing how few Harry Potter characters I came up with. Despite now, if I were to do, I could probably just rattle off like 10 in a row. But anyway, it is fun. It's more of experience, I think, than a game to take serious about winning or losing. That's why I'm going to rate it a 6 out of 10. Even though it's fun, the game itself is a little okay-ish, but the experience is a pretty good experience. That's why I was kind of struggling between a 6 or a 7. Do I rate it on the experience, or do I rate it on the gameplay itself and how engaging the strategy and the winning and losing goes? So that's why I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's mainly because of the gameplay over the experience. So those are the games I played in the month of June, as well as my Dice Tower East, my first Dice Tower East experience. I hope you enjoyed this video, and check out some of my other videos, and I'll catch you in the next one.